Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to New York. Welcome back to iRacing. Happy Thursday. It is another evening spent full of GT3 actions, hard racing, and for tonight only, boots. Lots of boots, lots of mentions of boots, because we are at Watkins, Glen. Of course, those of you unfamiliar, the entire third sector of this circuit is named after a shoe. So that's why I'm talking about boots. We are already within the crux of qualifying. 10 minutes all these drivers get, and 3, actually possibly 4 timed laps they have to do the best they can, to go as quick as they can, and then 1 hour to sort out who's the best on circuit. Tonight, we are, or I am excited to announce that we are sponsored by the very own Daniel Kent, who, unless I'm crazy, isn't actually here this evening, which does make me a little bit disappointed, but he was the one who sponsored this broadcast, so hopefully, at the very least, he can join us in the YouTube chat at some point. But he is the reason I am here tonight. He's the reason that we all get to see the action as it unfolds. Lap times flying in as everybody is putting down their first timed lap. James O'Brien is the one that has set the benchmark here at the Glen. The 11 corners of freedom. A personal favorite circuit of a lot of people. Many drivers say this is one of their favorite American circuits. To be honest, not entirely one of them. I do enjoy Watkins Glen quite a lot, but it is not my favorite. It is a phenomenal circuit, though. Its history speaks for itself, and I'm sure that that tonight will be no exception. Excuse all my ums and ahs. I'll be honest. Very long day today. A bit on the more tired side, but hopefully I can still give you all a very good show, as I always endeavor to do. But it is good to be back on iRacing. I've really sort of warmed to this series. When I was first asked to do it, I was like, sure, let's jump on to iRacing. Not the biggest fan of iRacing, but we'll give it a bash. But there's so many good drivers, so much talent, that it's a joy to look forward to every week. Lots of fun battles, lots of good wheel to wheel. Sometimes some epic crashes. We've had a few to note. But as qualifying continues, Piotr Szybilski in Air Mustang is jumped up to the top. On board with Stefano Zanatti, but Zanatti not having put down a valid lap time yet. They do still have plenty of time to do so. Just like last week, a couple new faces, which is absolutely lovely to see. We were expecting a lower turnout last week because of the impending Nürburgring 24-hour, which was in fact won by the ARL Endurance team, so congratulations to them. I checked in occasionally to see them just doing very well, making no mistakes, which is oftentimes the mantra of a good race. Cody May, who we're on board with now, sets their first time and goes into 12th. A couple more times jumping in. Javi Sanabria jumping into 11th. Paul O'Malley, the Dadman GT, the current championship leader, is, of course, out lighting it up. Very close to the top of the times, but not all the way up there. In fact, still some time to find on circuit. Well, I'm hitting lots of the incorrect buttons. That's still the wrong button. I'm really doing well. I'm in my stride tonight. Let's just say that. But Paul O'Malley coming through. I would assume this is going to be their last time lap. The unique thing with iRacing is it's not just, hey, you have 10 minutes to set a lap. You only have 4 valid attempts within that qualifying. So once a driver uses all of those, no real reason to stay out. So we'll see what O'Malley can do as he comes around turn 11. Well, looks like he's going to come down pit lane. So third is going to be the best they can do at the moment. Sort of jump down the board and see if anybody's still on a timed lap. This does happen pretty much every week, that there is sort of that 2 minutes of silence pretty much as everybody's put in their time and is just waiting for the race to get underway ultimately. But Devin Strauss currently in 12th position. I say currently in 12th, but was just bumped down by Cody May, who improved by just enough. But Devin Strauss is heading round in their Porsche 911 GT3R, finishing up the third sector, coming around the final corner. Does not go down pit lane like we saw Paul O'Malley do a moment ago. Strauss is going to cross the line. It isn't an improvement. It is an improvement. It just took a moment. Up to 9th for Devin Strauss. And that may be all she wrote. Never mind. We have Chris Andresen, who I believe this is another new name for the championship, is coming through. They have not set a time yet. They've got 40 seconds to cross the line, which should be plenty. They're coming up the boot and exiting through turn 9. And sending it around the circuit. Possibly the last and final car on circuit before we get underway for this race. So we'll see how it looks as they're going to come through. A little tentative on the throttle through the final corner. Maybe still finding a bit of confidence. We'll see if they go somewhere anywhere. Somewhere anywhere is going to be 18th. For them, it seems that we've still got a couple of drivers who have not set lap times, and I don't think are going to be able to set a lap time. As the clock ticks to 0 in qualifying, the server resets. Suddenly, we get a lot more traffic, a lot more drivers in the stands, excuse me, fans in the stands, because of course it's race day. And where would we be without our fans? But drivers are gritting up, getting ready to get underway. Our pole sitter, Piotr Chabilski, who throughout the season has been impressive in pace, tonight seems to be no difference. They are joined on the front row by James O'Brien, followed by the duality of Ford Mustangs, or a duality of Ford Mustangs, being Paul O'Malley and Anne-Marie De Pasquale, who, for Anne-Marie's sake, I hope that you have a clean first lap, because it's been a struggle the last handful of rounds for Anne-Marie to get off to a good and steady start. Nick Dawson-Lathan, who was very, very impressive last week, is in 5th position. Michael Hickman is in 6th. George Reynolds Jr. 7th. Marcus Taylor is in 8th. Devin Strauss lines up 9th on the grid. Paul Borman 10th. David DeLeon 11th. Javi Santabria 12th. Cody May 13th. Stefano Zanatti 14th. Matthew Sosi in 15th. Charles Burke 16th. Anthony Madonia 17th. Chris Andresen in 18th. Aaron Heschel in 19th. Stan Padarakis, Connor E. Cunningham, Willie Sellers, and Jed Cotterman line up on the final 4 slots of the grids. They were the ones who, well, either chose not to have a qualifying time or simply were unable to do so. But the safety car should get underway any moment. It's a bit of a chillier New York night. Not a ton of track temp to contend with, so we'll see what level of weaving we might get from any of our drivers. They don't have a lot of time. It is a very short formation, but you can see already a little bit of wiggling from the front too. Just trying to put that extra bit of surface temperature before the race goes underway. That temperature could help all the way through turn one. Once you get through the S's, every little bit counts. It's all about the tiny margins, maybe dragging their brakes a little bit as well to get some heat for turn one. The safety car is going to pull into the pits. They're just going to leave Piotr Shabilski to start the race when he chooses. Will he go now? I think he has gone now. Piotr Shabilski takes the green flag here at Watkins Glen for round 7 of GT3 Thursdays. A very measured start from everybody in the backfield, but very, very clean for our pole sitter, and mostly clean in the background. It looks like a couple 3 wide, a couple 4 wide, but everybody looking pretty good on the start. Looks like a couple drivers are very close at the beginning here, just behind Nick Dawson-Lathan and Michael Hickman. We're going too wide into the bus stop, but I think Dawson's going to drop back behind the McLaren. Further behind that, we have Javier Sanabria and Stefano Zanatti having a little bit of a tangle, but it is very, very measured for the fields, which is, as always, good to see. Everybody coming through now, getting ready to take their first lap under wraps. We're going through the boot now. Turn 7 is the toe. Turn 8 is the heel. An excellent circuit. Great elevation change, and one of the more historical bits of tarmac in the upper northeast. Not a whole lot of movement happening, but just further back, I see Marcus Taylor and Devin Strauss. Porsche versus BMW. The BMW has the inside for turn 9. Seems like they're going to hold it there or thereabouts. So a bit of movement going on so far, but I do not want to jinx it. But it does seem that, oh, I was going to say we're going to have a perfectly clean lap, but David DeLeon has found himself around coming out of turn 10. To show a bit of a replay of what just happened there. Was it on their own? Was it a bit of a, it is just a bit too much being asked for this early on in the race? Rear engine Porsche meet, well, physics ultimately, as David DeLeon goes down and around, but fortunately stays out of the wall, is able to return to the race, but they're going to find their challenge just to take that little bit longer. I will admit, could be crazy. It seems very quiet tonight. Like, I feel like these cars are usually quite a bit louder. I'm not sure why. That's a bit more like it. But it just seems that these TV cams are clearly not equipped with the greatest microphones. So we're not really able to hear the rumble and roar that we've become accustomed to. I especially have become accustomed to. I've really enjoyed getting to listen to everybody. So I apologize if it's a little bit quiet. Track side, I'm doing all I can from where I'm at. Outside of awkwardly opening up the settings menu and trying to fiddle with a bunch of dials, which I will not do, because I'm afraid I might break something. A bit further back, this is the fight for 9th place. Well, it's more or less the fight for 8th place. Stefano Zanatti is the one looking to gain the most. Marcus Taylor looking to fend off the drivers behind. One Porsche, one Mercedes AMG, and one Corvette. I know it's early in the evening, and probably everybody who watches these streams regularly are tired of hearing me say this, but I just so adore the disparity between manufacturers. The fact that, yes, there are people who are consistently quick in other cars, but it doesn't really seem like that there's an innate huge advantage from the from any of the cars. I mean, obviously they have advantages over another or disadvantages, hence the nature of GT3 racing. All manufacturers going about it a different way to create the same kind of racing machine, but anybody can be competitive in pretty much anything else. We're a bit accustomed to the likes of front engine V8s being at the front of the field. It looks like Devin Strauss had a bit of an issue just a moment ago. He was up in 9th and is now down in 11th. We'll see what that looks like as well. I think something occurred in the middle sector. Get a replay of that right now. It is I think it's just another bit of a lazy spin. This time just a bit of a bing into the wall, but definitely not going to be it's going to be a bit of a long night for Devin Strauss, and let's just say I wish them the best from here on out. They're currently in 17th. The fight up at the front of the field seems to be heating up. James O'Brien fancies himself a run at Piotr Shibilski. Says, you've led enough laps, my good man. I would like to take this. I'm going to name this the grudge match. This is the results of what happened at Road America. This is the re-engaging of the fight where James O'Brien was leading the race coming into the final lap, trying to fend off a damaged Piotr Shibilski, and Piotr, by some miracle, ended up taking victory. But this time, instead of about 3 minutes, they have 53 minutes. So sure, it will all come through. And look about as close as they've been all the time. It doesn't, I'm trying to spot any odd, you know, difference between the two, but they seem very evenly matched at the moment. Similar power plants, similar engine locations, and it's just the front four kind of stretching their legs just a bit. Usually we're used to seeing Michael Hickman in the McLaren up front with this pack, but it seems tonight, as a repeat of what happened in Charlotte last week, he's fully scrapping with Nick Dawson-Lathan in the Corvette. You got the mid-engine pack just behind the front-engine pack. But as we've gotten underway tonight, I'm very impressed by a lot of patience throughout the field. It really seems that everybody's taking their time with this one, as sometimes you need to do at Watkins Glen. Is I believe that Stan Paterakis down the inside of turn 1, trying to get the run on Willie Sellers, and has done. We'll see how it looks as they come up through the S's onto the back straight towards the bus stop, which, strange thing about the bus stop is it doesn't count as a corner technically, even though it absolutely is. It's 2 corners, in fact, but no, this is, you know, corner number blank. They're all coming through, clattering the curb as much as they dare. It does look like Stan Paterakis has found his way past the Mustang and is now looking a bit further ahead at the slightly wounded Porsche of Devin Strauss, but things definitely heating up towards the back of the pack. A lot of our non-qualifiers trying to make their way up and through the field as they come through turn 7. Possible run here from Paterakis. Looks like he had a strong exit, but just the thing about Porsches is they're able to apply their power so well just by that rear engine nature, but a little bit of understeer being fought by Strauss. Maybe an opportunity here. You can see the Mustang and Willie Sellers behind, maybe lining up a bit of a move, saying possible opportunity here, but maybe Sellers needs to be looking behind at David DeLeon in the Porsche. There goes a bit wide. See if DeLeon tries it around the outside, doesn't, sticks in, drops into that slipstream. could have an opportunity here into turn one. Mighty Porsche brakes versus the big Freedom Machine that slams the door confidently into turn one. Paterakis has found his way alongside of Devin Strauss and through again. Another tidy move coming out of one and into the entry of the S's. Stan Paterakis absolutely not hanging around. Back to the fight for 5th place. Dawson really on the back. These past 2 laps has gotten within about a 3/10 window. Really hasn't been relegated to any further. I think Dawson doesn't like being in the sandwich, would like to be maybe the bread rather than the meat as it stands now. Not looking close enough this moment. James O'Brien just ahead, still hanging on to the back of Piotr Shabilski. And now both of these drivers have seemed to be very, very patient. I think something is going on with the sound of this evening, because it as those cars came through, it was very muted. And I'm a bit confused as to why. So, my apologies for that. I'm not sure what I could do, because I haven't been around iRacing enough, if I'm going to be honest. But a couple mistakes from O'Brien maybe in that last sector, and not really on the back is Chris Anderson, excuse me, made up a position just a moment ago. Actually, I think it was Stan Paterakis who had something happen. They dropped back, which is why I saw a bunch of position changes. Let's see what happened to Paterakis just a few moments ago. We were talking about how well they were doing. It's just understeer a bit into the wall, but holding firm there, but losing a lot of speed. In fact, I see what it is. They got a slowdown penalty, I think, from running wide there. And, well, maybe not. They did take a long time to get back going again, so clearly something must have happened maybe outside the sim that caused Stam the need to slow up like that. But very interesting to see Paterakis then dropping back down a couple of positions. Drivers going into pit lane like Matthew Sosi have, in fact, relegated him a couple of positions up. A couple of drivers getting towed, including Matthew Madonia, or Anthony Madonia. Excuse me, I'm mixing up names all the time. But we shall see. Ladies and gentlemen, I need one moment. I'm going to disappear for 1 second. I'm getting a flurry of phone calls right now, so I'm going to step away for just a moment. I will handle that. I may also potentially try and fix the sound issue, see what I can do in the meantime, so bear with me. I will keep cycling the cameras as needed as I sort this out, so I will be back with you in just a moment. Thank you for your patience. I have returned, and what an absolutely incredible fight we just witnessed between Nick Dawson Lathan, Michael Hickman, and George Reynolds Jr. Just a moment ago. 3 wide coming down into turn 1. That was absolutely fantastic. It's kind of a shame that I was on the phone, mouth fully on the floor, and trying to to pay attention to what they were talking to me about. But instead I was eyes absolutely glued on my screen, because that was exceptional. Nothing it seems I can do about the slightly buggy audio tonight. I think it's just slightly buggy audio, and if I were to perhaps relaunch into the session, maybe that would work, but at this stage that will not be something that I will attempt to do. But Anne-Marie De Pasquale is attempting to go down the inside on Paul O'Malley into 1. They give each other just enough space, but Paul O'Malley managing to hold on to it around the outside. The fight at the front is going absolutely berserk tonight, and it is exceptionally good. Everyone seems to be on top form around Watkins Glen tonight, and I only wish well, 2 things. Everything was working properly, and I was a bit more awake, because I feel like I'm not giving this enough of a good show. It's absolutely stellar. Seems that a couple drivers in the backfield having some issues, but everybody hoping to come back. An early pit stop you can come back from it. You can always recover at least a handful of positions if you keep it clean throughout. Looking back towards the fighting, the 3 musketeers, the 3 mid-sketeers, because they all have mid-engine cars. But it's the fight for 5th, otherwise and probably more appropriately known. Among all the squabble, Lathan attempting to get through on George Reynolds, not having done it that time. In fact, maybe breaking a bit deep, outbraking themselves a bit into turn 8, but holding it as best as they can. And as we're coming through to on the better end of the first 20 minutes of this race, we're really into the golden hour at this point. Track starting to light up a bit more orange than it would normally, and everybody really getting after it now. Chris Anderson a bit slow on the exit is Chris Anderson, but Stan Paderak is, after the slightly strange happenings of a few laps ago, maybe Connor Cunningham has an opening, but not quite. But Stan Paderak is holding firm, but Anne-Marie De Pasquale, just as kind words were being given in the YouTube chat, Anne-Marie found herself round coming out of the bus stop, holding on just barely to 7th place. It's going to be a need for a recovery here. They were right on the back trying to make moves up onto the podium, but pushed a little bit too far. We're going to go back and take a look at exactly what happened there. They were side by side with Paul O'Malley, and I think just took too much of that inside curb, trying to give enough space, and rather than have a side to side in the bus stop with O'Malley, maybe made a bit of a mistake on her own, but was able to come back safely and to carry on. But a bit unfortunate for the Red Bull Racing esports driver. Hashtag blame Jerome, as Jerome says in the YouTube chat. It's not your fault. There's no such thing as a viewer curse. It's always the commentators that end up with the short end of the stick. If something goes wrong after I were to say something, then it would be an issue. I give you a clean bill of health. But no, it's been a spectacular race for Anne-Marie thus far, and I think this is just going to give us an opportunity to see what Anne-Marie can do as she tries to make her way through the midship fights of Hickman, Reynolds, and Dawson. O'Brien, though, again, really up and on the back of Piotr Shabilski. Overtaking at Watkins Glen, not easy. Not easy at all. The flowing nature of the circuit, there's a lot of mid-speed corners, and those are some of the more difficult ones to overtake in. That right there, turn 7 is maybe one of your opportunities. The next best, turn 8. Beyond that, turn 1, and if you get a run down and out of the S's towards bus stop, I'd say are your best, opportunities. As briefly Piotr disappears, but I know after last week, nothing to worry about. It just happens sometimes, I suppose. But James O'Brien doing a really stellar job tonight, really finding the pace. I mean, for anyone to be outwards and upwards and up against the wall, scraping just a bit. A little bit of flash for the fans from Trubisky, but to be up and in arms and getting ready to fight the likes of Piotr up at the front of the field shows some serious pace. James O'Brien has been quick and is showing that Watkins Glen is a bit of a dream tonight. Dropping back just further, the fight between Reynolds and Dawson Lathan still going firmly as they come up through the S's. The tricky thing when you're fighting a car that's the exact same make as yours is there's no benefiting from an innate disadvantage that the other car might have on your own. Ultimately, you're going to have about the same downforce package, about the same top speed, about the same stability, that you just have to find your own way through, and that's never easy, leave alone when it's at Watkins Glen. But these two are getting back within range of the fight for the lead, as saw a brief change of position there and tried to jump with him to see what was going on. I think O'Brien maybe briefly in the braking zone of turn 7 had a bit of an overlap, or maybe in the braking zone of turn 8, but held off still by James O'Brien. As I was going to say, Anne-Marie De Pasquale has rejoined back towards the fight for the front, as now she's going to get within the ever-hot battlegrounds of the fight between the two Corvettes. Let's see what Anne-Marie is able to do. As possible move here, just sort of getting into the wing mirrors was Dawson Latham that time. The beautiful thing about turn 1 at Watkins Glen is, I'm sure you're noticing by watching, you see how wide some of these cars go, and you think, well, surely that's illegal. Surely, I mean, that's you know, leaving the track and getting an advantage. That's a track cut. That shouldn't be allowed. Well, you see here, folks, it's unique around Watkins Glen, where you are absolutely allowed to do that, as long as you are back on the circuit where the solid white line appears, sort of a couple hundred meters after the apex. So there's a couple of corners like that. So if you see it happening, just know these are the professionals. They are racing within the rules. Anne-Marie, though, already looking a bit racy, sort of pushing Nick Dawson-Latham a bit forward almost to be like, hey, we got to get a move on. We're under threat here. We both got a freebie, but we got to work hard to hold it. This is a bit good news, a bit of breathing space for Michael Hickman in the McLaren ahead. We see a move here. Not quite. But Nick is looking very committed, really trying to force an error, which at the Glen, that's a lot of what you really have to try and do. Marcus Taylor, though, in the BMW, not far enough behind to count themselves out of a fight. We'll stay with the fighting group here to see what it looks like to have the freedom, the other Freedom Mobile, shall we call it, right in your wheel tracks coming through. It seems like a bit of a better exit that Anne-Marie got through turn 1. Going to sort of muscle her way down the inside through the S's. They're going to stay there. They got to give each other just enough space. Maybe a bit of a lift, though, coming between, but they're still side by side coming towards the bus stop. It's going to be in Lathan's best interest to maybe back out a bit. You don't want to go too wide if you absolutely can avoid it. Lathan does exactly that, knowing that it's not worth putting yourself in as dangerous a situation as that. But Anne-Marie, after the spin, already up another position, up into 6th, hunting down 5th. Now, I think Nick Dawson's gonna know, this Mustang's pretty quick. Maybe I follow the lines a little bit, maybe find a way through, because when and if Anne-Marie goes for a move, it might mean an opportunity for Nick Dawson as well. Coming into turn 8, not hanging around, trying to find another way through is Anne-Marie. News from the front, still the same as it was before. Gotcha Shabilski and James O'Brien, 2 V8Ps and a V8 pod at the front. Staying with these 3 now. So we'll see what that Red Bull means and what that Red Bull can do down towards the turn 1. Possibly a repeat of what we saw last lap. The sun's just beginning to go down. It's turning a little less orange and a little more pink. Not looking like she has the run just yet on George Reynolds Jr., but is very, very close. Maybe as they come up the hill, an opportunity. That Mustang is quick in a straight line. She's going to come alongside. She's enough alongside as they're going to break for the bus stop. They're going to stay side by side, and they're going to give each other just enough space. But through goes Anne-Marie, and here comes Nick Dawson. I called it out earlier. I said an opportunity for one might be opportunity for the other, but not quite. George Reynolds muscles them out, but an absolutely stellar move from Anne-Marie. That's 2 for 2 on Corvettes. I think there may be a McLaren in her future. And coming back with a vengeance from mistakes earlier in the race. And it is, it's got to be just slightly disheartening, but maybe not entirely. It's equally disheartening for both of these two, the 114 and the 100 car, because they're fighting. They've been fighting for, 15, 20 minutes at this point. A Mustang comes through, goes through one, goes through the other, and they're still there just as far apart as they were. So they know, well, maybe we were a bit outclassed, maybe we were a bit outmatched, but it seems that, well, the Mustang didn't have had equal levels of difficulty overtaking the pair. So good news is they get to continue the fight. The better news is we get to watch. Further back, the fight for 15th. Connor Cunningham on the back of Stam Padarakis, coming out of turn 8. And it was looking a little bit slow for Stam, but a little bit of a wiggle, maybe a bit too much torque to the rear axle. Connor Cunningham getting a little bit out of shape. Stefano Zanotti and a few other drivers beginning to pit. Of course, we are just about to the halfway mark, just about to the point where it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense to pit. If you fill the car for half a race's worth of fuel, naturally you're going to need to come in at half race distance, as George Reynolds is still under threat from the Corvette behind, but the newcomer to the fight, Marcus Taylor, he's really found his footing. Spent a couple of laps behind Anne-Marie, watched Anne-Marie make her move as an opportunity presents itself, maybe. No. Applying the pressure, though. Looking racy all of a sudden is Marcus Taylor, who had a bit of a quiet start to their race, just sort of hanging out where they were. Hanging out relative. It's coming out of the pit lane, it's a fight between Paul Borman and Stefano Zanotti. These two, I can almost guarantee not taking tires, only taking the necessary fuel, as It's only proper these two continue their fight into pit lane. In fact, it seems like Nick Dawson-Lathan might have actually found the advantage coming into pit lane. So we'll see what happens once they start to come out. But of course, they're going to pit equally, and they're going to sort this out on the racetrack. We don't need strategy to decide. I think it's just that they're having far too much fun. And it'd be a shame to end it by one undercutting the other. As Connor Cunningham is going to come down pit road. Same with same with David DeLeon ahead. See, they're going to... I think they maybe would have started moving yet, but not quite. There they go. My timing wasn't that far off, but it does seem like that Nick Dawson, by nature of getting alongside, maybe getting a bit ahead in pit lane, possibly even short filling the car, they did get going a bit quicker. They are ahead of George Reynolds with as big as a gap has been between them pretty much all race, which is a true testament to what a great battle it was and has been, and I think there's still more yet to see from them. Up at the front, I think Shabilsky is going to be looking to go down pit lane. No, both of them are going to be going down pit lane. So will Paul O'Malley go down with him? He will. The top three in pit lane. Michael Hickman is going to be next to go down. Anne-Marie De Pasquale is also going to go down pit row. Nobody toying with going any further. As a reminder, it is, of course, 55% maximum fuel load that these cars can have underneath them. So 55%, that gets you 32 minutes. Not a second more, not a second less. As I think Stan Paterakis, not I think, he is the only driver not to have pit yet. They will come down, they will come through. We'll see where everybody gets going. It's James O'Brien that gets going way earlier than the rest of the field. A huge difference down pit lane as Paul O'Malley actually ends up gaining quite a bit. And interestingly, did Piotr maybe fill a bit too much, put a bit of extra fuel so that there was an opportunity to push? But coming out of pit lane, it looks like an opportunity maybe for the Dadman GT to find his way up. And earlier on the brakes was Shabilsky, but had the ability as clicking on the wrong car. I saw a bit of a yellow flag for Stefano Zanotti, but no, just going down pit lane and coming back out again. Paul Boorman has, by some nature, made their way up quite a bit. Now they're on the back of Nick Dawson-Lathan, who was leading a bit ago, but had some kind of incident. We'll take a look at that. This was as it was leading, and Witt's coming through turn 6. Swapping ends. Maybe asking a bit too much from the Corvettes, and that would explain why and how that specific Corvette is down maybe a position or two from where it should be. And that's made it so Marcus Taylor has now found their way through among all the chaos. Saw a Corvette go around there. Not this time. But Marcus Taylor really has come greatly in this, in the mid part of this race. Came through on both the Corvettes and is now sitting in 7th. Or excuse me, is sitting in 6th. So, for the first time we've really seen a BMW, I think, excuse my memory, we've seen a BMW really running this high. Anne-Marie, though, has found her next victim and is looking for one more mid-engine car to cross off her hit list. This time it's a McLaren. Is a big moment for Paul O'Malley, I think, but perhaps not. It must have been something, but enough to keep going again. Lost about 3.5 seconds. Let's see what occurred there. Coming out, it's a huge drift coming out of the bus stop, and manages to keep it going, manages to keep it, I believe, out of the wall, and able to get going again. Tokyo drifted a Mustang. That's where we're at this evening. But an almost very costly mistake for O'Malley, as it's become a three-way fight. A V8 sandwich. Henry, though, good looking exit coming out of turn 11. As the circuit has suddenly just gotten a whole heap darker, everybody headlights on, and it's basically nighttime now, as we still have a good 24 minutes remaining in our campaign. We can see that sky as we're on board with Anne-Marie. It's actually quite pretty, I must admit. It's a good looking night out there. But it doesn't seem that things are going to be as easy for Anne-Marie as perhaps they were earlier on. Michael Hickman, a different mark altogether, though Hickman is going to be looking forward to the other Mustang, though, coming out of the bus stop. Quick on the exit, and maybe brushing a bit too wide, scrubbing through the mid corner. But it's getting very close now. Maybe gonna try for something into the toe, but not quite. But Anne-Marie is so close onto the back, almost feeling the need to pull out a bit, and maybe that dirty air sort of forcing the car offline as she's coming out of a traction zone. But it's super close between the pair. But looking back, it's Taylor versus Reynolds. Little bit of door-to-door into turn 9. George Reynolds Jr. muscling their way past the BMW. Marcus Taylor, knowing what needs to be asked from them, knows how hard they need to work, but maybe working a bit too hard there. Another brush with the wall. We've seen a couple of drivers do that, and as someone who spent some amount of time driving Watkins Glen, it is impressively easy to do. You think you have all the grip in the world, there's enough camber on the final corner that you're like, yep, I'm just going to steer my way out of this, and nose to wall, and bend steering, and blood and sweat and tears from the mechanics who need to fix it. But Marcus Taylor bumped down another position. As we look back for the fight for third, Anne-Marie at this point maybe being a bit held up by the likes of Michael Hickman, because you can see ahead Paul O'Malley has pulled a bit of a gap, and Anne-Marie, if she wants that podium, me oh my, she's really gonna have to work for it. 21 of 23 drivers remain, as we've lost Willie Sellers, who retired just a moment ago, and possibly, hopefully, we may have the reason why. We're gonna look at that real quick, as we'll see what occurred to Willie Sellers. It's similar to what we saw to James O'Brien, though he manages to actually hold it, and tires completely destroyed. And shortly after Sellers decided to retire, we'll maybe stay just a moment longer to see why oh why. But no, it is a questionable retirement, but a brief brilliance of opposite lock there. As, oh, I think we just saw it there briefly. I think like Willie Sellers might have just disconnected very suddenly from the session. It wasn't a forced retirement, or rather it was a moment of internet issues. Devin Strauss, who of course pitted very early in this race, having to come back in, dropping down pit lane. Porsche of Matthew Sosi joining. These should be the last 2 pit stops of the night, which means it is full pedal, maximum beans all the way to the end. The question on everybody's minds: can Anne-Marie overtake this McLaren? Can Anne-Marie take one step further and get onto the podium? Well, I hope you got a little bit of popcorn, maybe a nice fizzy beverage, and you got about 19 minutes to spare because we're racing in New York, and I am going to tell you, we do know that Michael Hickman is a very talented driver when it comes to defending and ultimately just staying consistent enough, placing the car in the right place, that no one's really able to make it through. Because for, I don't know, over half an hour last week at Charlotte, wasn't able to do it, but the door actually opens a bit as I'm talking about it. The straight line speed finally coming good. Anne-Marie again finds her way through in the S's. Easily, I think, her favorite part of the circuit. And another day, another dollar, and another move into the bus stop. Anne-Marie up to 4th. And my money's on hunting down Paul O'Malley for that podium position. It was almost out of nowhere. The move that we've seen 3 times already this evening. Just really the confidence and the speed coming out of turn 1. Anne-Marie just ripping it up through there. Michael Hickman, though, not going to take it lying down. Going to do their best to hang on. Going to do their best to find a way back through, lest an opportunity presents itself. Good evening, Mr. Swindle-Mac. I hope you're doing well. We're having a grand old time in New York this evening. It's been a good race. It's been a really good race at the front, I have to admit. Well, it's not over. Thank goodness. But as we look back, a fight that's been raging for the better part of the whole race. Cunningham v. May seem to have taken a turn as the Hoonigan-inspired Mustang makes it through on... Is that a John Deere Corvette? I believe that's a John Deere Corvette. It's the only place in the world where you get to experience these battles, where it's Hoonigan versus John Deere. And I gotta say, custom liveries are one of my favorite things. As someone who makes them, makes bad ones, but as someone who makes them, the goofiness and greatness you can experience is just chef's kiss. Absolutely unbelievable. Devin Strauss, though, coming back after their late race pit stop as a result of their early stop, is coming through, maybe coming down into turn 1 on Chris Anderson. Really clean through the last couple of fast corners and through without much of a fight, really. Devin Strauss coming through, jumping up to 15th. We take a look back. As Anne-Marie completes another lap, you can see the briefest speck of the Dadman GT going through turn 1 ahead. That's the goal. That's what is to be caught. 15 minutes, I would estimate, 7-ish, 8-ish laps remaining. So, Anne-Marie, clock is ticking. Though Michael Hickman is hanging on really, really well. I must truly admit. But no, it's been a great race tonight, and as a reminder, it is thanks to Daniel Kent, who sponsored this broadcast, that I am here, you are here, we are here, enjoying the evening. So again, thank you to him and all the other super generous drivers that have sponsored broadcasts. We got a few more as we come to the end of the season, and no, I'm glad I'm able to be here, regardless of how tired I am. If I'm in my apartment at the appropriate time, I will absolutely bring these races because they've been so much fun. And when applicable, a guest commentator. And when I say when applicable, it's when my British and Dutch friends are not feeling like sleeping. Ultimately, we are counting down the moments. David DeLeon finding themselves inching closer to the back of Stefano Zanotti as we're coming more towards the end than the beginning. Zanotti clearly maybe struggling a bit, where David DeLeon isn't. The gap's coming down mighty quickly. About 7/10 that's been scythed out. The final bit, it seems like a bit more tires, tire is underneath the Porsches than the Corvettes, but see what occurs in one. And though the Porsche's mighty on the brakes, not mighty enough. Clearly something has occurred that has dropped Anne-Marie back just a bit. A little mistake, perhaps. Nothing major enough to lose enough time. Nothing major to trigger an alert that I would be able to replay, but all the work done to get ahead of Michael Hickman, undone, and to be done again. Am I going to complain? Not really, no. Because it's been great watching these two duke it out. And there is also the possibility that Hickman did just find a bucket load of pace for a couple of corners and made their way through, but my money, given where the gap to Paul O'Malley is, I think it may have been a mistake from the driver of the Mustang. But we know she's got the ability to come through. Does she have time on her side? There's now only 12 minutes to go. Jumping back to the fight for 10th. We just saw it a moment ago. David DeLeon all over the back of Stefano Zanotti. And holds on to it. But it is close. And maybe there might be another opportunity on the brakes here. David DeLeon coming out the final corner. Dead even. Not quite close enough, as it turns out. But ebbing closer, you might see a bit of a up and under here. I was going to say through the S's, but door sort of shut in the right sort of way by Stefano Zanotti. Close is the Porsche, but maybe not close enough. Maybe you're going to try to be really brave on the brakes into the bus stop, but knowing better of it. There are some corners where you can, some corners where you can't pull a move like that, and the Watkins Glen bus stop is one of those. Anne-Marie right up on the tail of Michael Hickman into turn one again. Hickman going defensive truly for the first time. Anne Marie's going to try it wide and the long way around. Maybe possibly has the run. See how it looks as they start to come up the hill. See, Hickman's going to hold that inside. And a bit of a lift actually from Anne Marie. We just heard, knowing that it's not worth sending the car up the inside there. If you're alongside coming into the braking zone, sure. Sending it late? Possibly not. A bit too sketchy for that. It seems that Stam Paterakis has found their way on the back of Charles Burks. And that fight will maybe an aggressive line over the curb and at turn 1. As we're seeing that, David DeLeon again is extremely close, virtually pushing Stefano Zanatti through the bus stop, but holds on firm. Maybe a move here on the brakes in turn 6. Not quite. It's all these medium speed corners. It makes it really difficult to get ahead on the brakes or to get far enough alongside on the brakes. Even the likes of turn 7, you're like, oh, it's a hairpin, of course. But it is a slight uphill braking zone, and it goes uphill all the way through, so you don't end up braking all that early. Which could be why I've maybe never been the biggest fan of Watkins Glen. It is all the medium speed. So I don't know. Can't say. Can't say that Anne Marie finding herself alongside through the bus stop yet again fended off by the mighty Macca. I do have to say, James O'Brien has driven a phenomenal race, and whatever wizardry on strategy, whether it was just fuel saving behind Piotr Jabilski, being able to short fill the car just that bit more, because coming out of the pit stop, the gap has not really changed. It's been about 2.5 seconds, as the gap was unchanging throughout the first half of the race. It's been a really, really stellar drive from O'Brien, really having come alive in this in the race this week. So hats off to James. He's 7 minutes from greatness. Anne Marie is just always seeming like a couple of corners away from being ahead, but the cat and mouse never stopping, but greater speed coming up through the S's again. Anne Marie's gonna be poised to get alongside, but going the long way around. It's gonna drop back. Into the slipstream, but it's not this time. It's just so close, but yet so far for the Mustang. Let's see how it's looking. We're coming down to that final bit. I think oh, it's Paul Borman coming down pit lane again. Maybe short filling in the pit stop. I talked about how Borman actually gained a lot in the pit stop, and I think we're seeing exactly how and why, which was, yep, that is certainly a splash and dash. So Borman gonna fall down and maybe have a bit of a race out of pit lane with Chris Anderson, is who I believe that is. Nope, coming out cleanly. David DeLeon. I feel like David DeLeon and Anne-Marie need to start a Overtakes Anonymous club. After being tense apart, and I think James O'Brien, the same, after this race, deserves to be there. Where all they talk about is just the trauma they get from staring at the back of other race cars for lap after lap after lap after lap. We'll see. Here comes Anne-Marie again. Up the S's. A bit further back and maybe an opportunity to seize the inside, but doesn't have the run quite simply, but is going to stay there. Oh, is going to sneak their nose in. But is not going to make the move. Michael Hickman doing such an incredible job of fending this off. As George Reynolds Jr. is around and into the wall with a big impact coming out of the bus stop. Oh no, that car is very, very damaged. It is crabbing horribly. That might be a tow back to pit lane. As Reynolds gets towed, we'll see where it went wrong. Too much of the apex curb, and that's a huge shunt. No wonder, excuse me, no wonder the car in such a weakened state. As Reynolds was doing fantastically up in 6th, is not going to drop way down. So that promotes most of the field up a couple of positions. I should say the top 10 up a couple of positions. As that long repair is going to begin, more cars are going to come through. So we'll see where George Reynolds Jr. ends up making it out. But that is a tough shake this late into the race. You get as far through as you do, and unfortunately, it's all for naught, as they say. As yet again, here we are into the bus stop. Anne-Marie a 10th away, but just not able to get through. The car placement from Michael Hickman has just been extremely good. Not much more I can say other than that. Not over defending. Just doing the right things at the right time. And maybe a bit of a mistake there coming out. As Anne-Marie's gonna try it on the brakes, but not quite get there. There was an opportunity. You heard that sort of half lift. I think Hickman's car started to get a bit loose, so lifting off was enough. It was enough to allow Anne-Marie alongside, but crucially not enough to let that Mustang through. That's Chris Anderson in the wall. Well, not in the wall, but just short of the gravel trap, really. But moving again. As we'll see, and in fact, we'll go back on board. Anne-Marie, you can see visually and see in the top left, the gap closes, gets alongside, in fact, actually gets ahead. This might be the best opportunity we've seen on what may be the penultimate lap. A bit of traffic is going to come into the way, and they're going to need to make their way around it. Anne-Marie's going to try it around the outside, but just does not have the ability, rather has the ability, but perhaps just doesn't have the braking force to really send it through. Doesn't have the space really to do it either. Because I do believe James O'Brien is going to start the final lap this time by. Seems that I was going to say Cody May's had a bit of an issue. I think Cody May maybe has entered pit lane again. He started dropping a bit. Maybe briefly disappearing off the timing screen, but James O'Brien comes through. A white flag is waved among a flurry of traffic. It's funny, if you take a look at the pictures on circuit, if you take a look at the circuit map, you see it looks like a very busy field, but everybody's almost tripping over each other, having to really pay attention to who's being blue flagged where. I'd argue some of the last opportunities for Anne-Marie to get past Hickman. A little bit of traffic here. This could actually go the favor, depending on whether Hickman was able to get through cleanly. It seems they both were. As the time's running down, maybe 2 good braking zones remain, but I don't believe that Anne-Marie is as close as she's gonna be. Coming into the last lap, it seems that James O'Brien might be having to fuel save just a bit here, because there's Piotr Shabilski just on the back. We know that James O'Brien did some fuel saving, or excuse me, did some short filling, whether it's being stuck behind traffic, whether it's having to lift and coast. It's gonna be a bit close as we're getting ready to come across the line, but listen to it. It is a lift, but a pretty standard one, but it's not close enough. It's for James O'Brien to cross the line and take victory. Piotr Chabilski just in the back. They were within a shout of having a last-minute moment, but it is James O'Brien to take victory, and a nice little parade. Drivers waving to each other from sim to sim. Respectable drivers, a very respectful race. Paul O'Malley came across the line third, Hickman fourth, Anne-Marie with a bit of a tap to the rear. A friendly bit of jousting, shall we call it. Marcus Taylor comes across the line in 6th position. I believe also the I think most cars actually have come across the line pretty much at this point. Nick Dawson-Lathan had to fight for it again for the second time. I think we're going to become a bit of a regular for a battle. Stan Paterakis started at the back of the field. A non-qualifier, whether by choice or by being a bit late or simply not setting a valid qualifying lap, but recovers all the way up to 8th position, which is a mighty fine drive, I must admit. Following them is Matthew Sosi to cross the line. Paul Borman in 9th, didn't actually end up losing out that much because of that final emergency stop. Devin Strauch crosses the line. Stefano Zanotti, I think the last to come through. I don't believe that anybody else. Oh, well, that was well timed. I was gonna say, everybody almost on a bit of a parade lap, gone a bit sour. We're now playing bumper cars in the final sector as everybody begins to come through. As indeed, Swindle-Mac, very good stuff at the Glen. Thank you for your kind words. I hope I still brought the energy, even though I'm mostly half asleep, or at least my brain wants to be asleep. But no, I definitely a great race, and a beautiful evening, quite frankly, to end off our campaign tonight. It is James O'Brien taking victory at Watkins Glen for round 7. Piotr Chabilski, by a slim margin, but a margin nonetheless, finishes in 2nd position. Paul O'Malley taking 3rd. Michael Hickman fending off the mighty Anne-Marie to take 4th. 5th place is Anne-Marie after a spin, taking them out of podium contention, but still driving through some very fast cars to get up to where she finished. Marcus Taylor, 6th. Nick Dawson Latham in 7th. Stan Padarakis in 8th. Paul Borman, 9th. Devin Strauss in 10th. Stefano Zanotti finished 11th. David DeLeon in 12th. Charles Burks, 13th. Cody May, 14th. George Reynolds Jr. is in 15th. Matthew Sosi is in 16th. Javi Sanabria is in 17th. Daniel Kent, 18th. Chris Anderson in 19th. And Aaron Heschel in 20th position. Connor Cunningham, Willie Sellers, and Anthony Madonia having retired in the race at some point or another, but still showing up, taking part, and enjoying their evening here on ARL, which, of course, if you saw it, if you liked it, like the stream, subscribe for more. I tried to be live as a commentator a couple times a week. I think regularly the likes of Ted Piper will be streaming race POVs for the Monday Porsche Cup series or whenever there is an endurance race going on. Of course, head over to americasracingleague.com for any and all of your information that you need to join the league as a driver. Most days of the week, there is an event. It's not just iRacing. Le Mans Ultimate is on the calendar. ACC Crossplay is around, still kicking. There's a good group of console racers that take to ACC regularly. AMS2 happens on Tuesdays, though the latest series, the latest season did just wrap up. But there is the upcoming Indy 500 special event next week. But other than that, in the nick of time, I was just about to run you out of time, but fortunately you made it.
I'm sorry
Mr.
about
James
that.
O'Brien. No worries, my man. Congratulations.
First time in here.
No,
thank you,
it was wonderful. A little bit close at the end, but it was one hell of a drive tonight.
Yeah, I picked up some damage from a back marker. Slowed me down at the end, but pulled it through, kept it calm. That was a lot of fun out there. Good to be back up top.
Yeah, you and Piotr pretty much equal, pretty much all the time. I'm sure you enjoyed sniffing the exhaust fumes out of that Mustang for a good half an hour. But
yeah, his tow worked out to my benefit greatly.
I was gonna say, was it just an effort of you were able to save fuel from behind him and was able to short fill down pit road? Was that the
So he actually ran out of fuel going into the pits, and I was saving fuel the first stint. And that's how I secured the win.
Yeah,
that's how I race. I always just kind of stay calm and let the speedy boys get all sweaty, and I just kind of sniff around and plan a strategy.
If I was gonna say, if I've learned anything after Road America, you're always waiting for an opportunity, and damn it if you're not gonna take it. But you took it tonight. Is that your first? Is that the first win of the season? I think it is for you.
I believe so. No, the first race I won.
Oh,
I wasn't
here, so I didn't know.
Yeah, you missed it. It was a good one.
I believe it. No, it was a great race. The honestly, just the fight in the front for pretty much the entire race was super stellar. Lots of good moments, but I mean, have you always sort of found yourself quick at Watkins, Glen? I'd guess that you like the circuit based on the performance.
I love the circuit. And we're all going there for the IMSA race coming up in 2 months.
Nice.
So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That's awesome. Well, looking onto the rest of the season, what are you most looking forward to track wise?
I'm actually a big fan of Mexico. That's towards the end of the season. I'm looking forward to that track.
I'm actually looking forward to watching it. I've only ever seen Formula One cars.
Because if you believe track limits are a thing, they don't exist there. You just kind of drive. The track is just a recommendation.
Nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Quite like, basically like Charlotte last week.
Exactly.
Wonderful. Well, now
But
I'm looking forward to it as well.
yeah, man. Just in case if I don't get back in here, always thank you for you and what you do. You make the races a lot more fun, man. It's fun to watch back.
Well, I appreciate it. No, honestly, I think more of the thanks goes to you guys for giving A, something to watch, and B, something good to watch. Because there's yet to be like a boring race. There's like little moments where maybe people aren't actively going wheel to wheel, but it's been absolutely stellar. No, you guys, and you iRacing fellers, you guys do good work. So
Yeah.
thank you all for driving, and congrats again to you. I appreciate the kind words.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. You have a good night.
Same to you, my friend.
All right.
Well, now that will do it. We just finished speaking with Mr. James O'Brien. A wonderful, wonderful race. And like everything I said to just a moment ago still applies. Thank you to all the racers for giving me something great to watch. Thank you, of course, to all of you viewing and all of you in the chat. I appreciate it. I always appreciate the kind words. And at the end of the day, it was a whole heck of a lot of fun, as it always is. That's what it's all about. Never forget, we all do this for fun. And thank you for spending your Thursday evening with me. And one final thank you to all the drivers and the ARL as a whole. Because, man, I love doing this kind of stuff. Of course, head to americasracingleague.com if you are interested in joining the league, if you're interested in joining me in the booth, or honestly broadcasting you're on your own. Doesn't have to be here, can be anywhere, and you don't know how, or you're looking for recommendations. I am reasonably qualified to teach or instruct or give you recommendations, or if you're feeling feisty, you're welcome to join me in the booth. Pretty much an open invitation. As long as you know, if you like racing and you have a good attitude, you are more than welcome to join me, talk shop, and we can enjoy the race together. But other than that, have a wonderful, wonderful night. Be safe. Eat some ice cream. I think I said that last week too. Maybe I said that 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I feel like I've been recommending people to eat ice cream a lot. Eat something you enjoy that you don't normally eat. Treat yourself, as they say. I might be back tomorrow. Obviously, schedule depending, for some multi-class LMU action. Beyond that, enjoy your weekend. Finish out this week on a strong suit. I look forward to coming back for another Thursday next week. Of course, we will be at Interlagos, one of my favorite circuits. So that is something to look forward to for sure. Have a wonderful night, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon.